Welcome to the first episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the True to Yourself episode. I'm Bill Simpson, your host. I coach men who are struggling in relationship, how to communicate effectively, build trust, and deepen intimacy so that they can be the best version of themselves in relationship and live the life they love. So, what should you expect listening to this podcast? Well, each episode will have a topic or theme. And as a relationship coach, I'm going to be sharing relationship stories from my clients, not using their real names. I'll have stories from my own relationship experience, and I'll throw in some hypothetical examples as well, all based on the theme, and offer some wisdom that will hopefully inspire you to be the best you in relationship. And from time to time, I will be interviewing some special guests. Now, to shed some light on the process, even though my focus is on men in relationship, what I offer really applies to everyone. Men, women, LGBTQ+, just people loving other people. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a little background about myself. I've been a mind-body educator and integrative therapy practitioner for over 7 years at a major health clinic in Philadelphia, and over 15 years prior to that in my private practice. And over the years, I've coached hundreds of individuals and couples how to speak and listen with empathy, how to be mindful in their actions, how to respond to their thoughts, feelings, and even body sensations or urges, how to be consistent in honoring what's important to them, their values, and so much more. And ultimately coaching them how to be true to themselves so that they can be true in their relationships. Now, in being true to myself and to you as a listener and all of my transparency, over the years, I've had struggles in my relationships. In fact, I had 3 marriages that just didn't work out. I had been to therapy, couples counseling, and had done numerous trainings and certifications of my own. I knew that I desperately wanted to be in a healthy and thriving relationship, yet it just wasn't working out. And after my last divorce, I had finally gotten to the point where I thought I should just live a monk's life and give up on relationships altogether. Then one day I was in meditation and I got this message, clear as day, that said, "It is time." Like Rafiki from The Lion King, right? And I was like, what? No way. I really didn't look good on paper. I mean, I was divorced with 2 kids, just got laid off my job. I was renting a room in someone's house. But my intuition was so strong that I couldn't deny it. So being true to myself, I reluctantly finished a profile on a dating site that I had started 6 or 8 months prior. 3 days later, I met my current wife online, and we've been happily together for going on 14 years now. Being true to myself and listening to my intuition really paid off. I finally found the relationship I had been looking for. Being open to change, utilizing all of my skills and valuable past relationship experience on how to be and how not to be in a relationship has helped me maintain a relationship that gets stronger every single day. I have no regrets for what I've been through because it led me to where I am today. So, based on what I said earlier, you might be wondering why I chose to help men in relationship. Well, one reason is I want to help men avoid the mistakes I made in relationship. Another reason comes from my coaching clients, where I'd say about 80% have been women, and how I hear so many of them suffering in relationship with the men that they love and want to be in relationship with, yet the men seem like they just can't get it together. When I would say to them, well, what if he had done this or said that? And they would be like, well, that would make all the difference. And I was like, I can help men with that. And the last and most important reason, I think, is how I've seen the men in my practice, regardless of their sexual identity, suffer because they can't seem to get it right in relationship. And they don't have a clue where to even start to make things right. And once I've coached them, I've seen them put what they've learned into action, and I'm amazed by the transformation I see in them and in their relationships. And it all starts with being true to themselves. So today's episode is all about being true to yourself. Take the risk to be true to yourself and live the life you love. When my wife and I came up with the idea of our practice, Pathways to Living Well, that was the underlying philosophy for all that we offer. When you are true to yourself, your higher self, true to what matters to you, to what's important to you, your values, and live and act accordingly, then you're living a pretty vital life, even when things don't go your way. Being true to yourself is especially important in relationship. There's a quote from Deepak Chopra that says, "All relationships are a reflection of your relationship with yourself." In my approach to relationship coaching, it's all about creating a healthy relationship with yourself so you can be the best you in relationship with someone else. So if you don't respect yourself, well, chances are your partner or anyone else won't respect you, right? When you give up your true self to be in a relationship, you are on the road to codependency. When you give in to your partner every time just to stay in relationship or to make your partner happy or whatever, you are giving up your true self. And I know this all too well because I've been there, done that. Each time I gave in and denied or ignored my true self, a part of me would disappear. And the next thing I knew, I was miserable and I didn't even know how I got there. Then I would have the nerve to want to blame my partner because I wasn't happy or getting my needs met. Well, how would I expect to get my needs met if I wasn't saying what they were? It's so important that your partner knows your true self. If you're always going along with what she wants, then for her, it's like being in a relationship with herself. And that can get really old and even frustrating. Now, this is not to say that you go the other way and don't compromise at all or don't collaborate. The best relationships is where both do compromise and collaborate. Otherwise, it's like one-sided or controlling. And who wants to be in a relationship where you feel controlled, right? Okay, so back to being true to yourself. I got this example from my therapist at the time, and it really stuck with me. Say that you and your spouse or partner want to go out to eat. You have a taste for Mexican, and your wife or partner really wants Indian. If you agree to Indian just to go along with what she wanted and don't mention that you would prefer Mexican, then you're not being true to yourself. So what can happen? Well, you could play it off like it's no big deal, but that can wear thin if you repeatedly do this over time. Another scenario is the two of you go out to the Indian restaurant. She's happy, yet you may be feeling resentful on the inside because she got her way and you didn't. That resentment can come out sideways, and the next thing you know, you're having an argument about something that had nothing to do with how you were feeling about eating Indian. She has no idea what's going on, the night is ruined, and you feel disconnected. So what could you have done to be true to yourself here? Well, one way is to say that you really don't want Indian and that you only want Mexican. She really doesn't want Mexican and you're not willing to compromise. You're at a stalemate. You can argue about it and then the evening is shot and you feel disconnected. Or you can pause and think about what's really important to you and what's best for the relationship in the long run. It may be important to be true to yourself in really wanting Mexican. It may also be even more important to you to just spend time with your partner or spouse and have a nice dinner. In that case, you can do both. Be true to yourself and true to the value of connecting with your spouse or partner. You may be thinking, well, isn't that giving in? Well, you are giving in a sense, yet the difference here is she knows you would prefer Mexican and knows your bigger reason for being okay with Indian. So in this case, you could say something like, I really would prefer Mexican, and yet it's more important to me to spend time with you. So I'm okay with Indian tonight, and maybe next time I can choose. Well, this way she knows your true self wants Mexican, and with you choosing your value of connection, who knows? She may go along with Mexican after all, or can agree that next time you get to choose. So another example of being true to yourself could be in the case of watching TV together. So my wife is a nurse and loves medical dramas. I'm not such a big fan, even though I work at a health clinic. There's one or two I can watch, but for the most part, I'm not into it. Now, I like watching sports and sometimes true crime documentaries. My wife, not so much. The thing is, we know this about each other, right? So we agree to watch shows and genres we both enjoy, and we do like a lot of the same things. What's most important to both of us is that we spend time together, watching what we both like together and waiting to watch our individual shows at another time. Now, say if there's an important game on for me or maybe an award show for her, we may watch it together or choose to watch another show on our devices or another TV. This only happens occasionally and is not the norm. Remember, our main value here is to be together and feel connected, even if we're just watching TV. So those are just a couple of examples of how you can be true to yourself in relationship. Now, I know they may seem like pretty simple or benign examples. However, I can't tell you how many times I've heard couples getting in the most heated arguments over something as seemingly silly as choosing what food they want to eat or TV show they want to watch. And when both of them dig in their heels and their egos hold on to what they think is their power, they're not thinking about the big picture of the longevity of the relationship. And over time, these arguments can take their toll, and the relationship can start to drift apart and eventually come to an end. Now, I want to clarify that when I say being true to yourself, I mean being true to your higher self, the best version of yourself, not to be confused with the negative part of you that might want to act out, be condescending, hurtful, and so on. For example, just because you have a thought that she looks a little too wide in her yoga pants doesn't mean you have to tell her that you think she's fat. That's hurtful, and it's not really your true self, because your true self, your higher self, loves her and doesn't want to hurt her. It's up to you to control the urge to blurt out something hurtful. Being brutally honest is not always helpful, and you will probably regret it afterwards. So check in with yourself before you say something. Make sure your intentions are pure and have some grace when speaking your truth. Your goal should be to speak your truth in a way that is good for the long term of the relationship. Being true to yourself and communicating that truth to your partner or spouse in a conscious way allows you not only to feel connected with your spouse or partner, most importantly, feeling connected with yourself. All right, that's going to do it for the first episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the True to Yourself episode. Now, remember, when you are being true to yourself and true to the one you love, you are on the path to living the life you love. I'm Bill Simpson. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you're experiencing any challenges in your relationship, have any feedback or suggestions about the show, or just want to get on my mailing list, I would love to hear from you. Please email me at bill@pathways2livingwell.com. That's bill@pathways2livingwell.com. And please join me for the next episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, when I address a sometimes complicated and fascinating topic, sex, on the Let's Talk About Sex episode. And until then, keep your heart open and stay on the path to love.